USCHO.com.
Welcome to USCHO Edge for Friday, October 14th, where each week we handicap and prognosticate some top games this weekend. This podcast is sponsored by DCU Digital Federal Credit Union. What will DCU mean to you? Find out today by visiting dcu.org. Membership required. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly, and we do expect Dan Rubin to join us as the season goes on. But Jim, some more great games, and maybe as I look at them, some surprising lines, not in who's favored, but by how much. But why don't we dive right into the first matchup, and that has unbeaten number 1 Denver at number 13 UMass.
And the battle of the last two national champions here. These teams have played a number of times. They played out in Denver last season. They had played in the 2019 Frozen Four, the national semifinal game. These teams are familiar with one another. Denver, a minus 165 favorite. UMass plus 150 on the underdog. The over-under in this game is 6. I am a little bit surprised by that line. But when I really think about it, bookmakers have a recency bias. Denver is coming off the 2-game win during the Icebreaker tournament where they beat Notre Dame, a nationally ranked team, I believe they were 11 at the time, and they beat Maine, handled both of those teams in comfortable fashion, you'd say. Neither game got down to 1 goal. Neither game needed overtime. So you can sit there and say, okay, Denver did what they were supposed to do at home in the Icebreaker. UMass, they went out to AIC, had to rally from 2-0 down. They win. They ended up in a 2-2 tie. It probably felt like a win to get those 2 late goals and earn the tie in that game. But I think that's where the line setting comes. But this game is in Amherst. In UMass, it will be it's Parents' Weekend out there. I expect great crowds for both nights. National champions, like we said, of the last 2 seasons, walking into the same building and playing. I think that this has the potential to be one that sways toward the home team, UMass. But I think that these teams butt heads in many ways. They both play a physical style of hockey. They both depend on their power play for some of their offense. I think they both play great defense in the defensive zone. So it's going to be the battle of which team gets to kind of impose their will here. The over-under of 6, I think, is a perfect line number. I feel like that we could see a 3-2, or we could see a 5-2 game. We could see a 5-3. We could see a 4-3. So the thought, this game is going to balance right around the line. I don't think you're going to see a 2-1 game in this series, either game, Friday or Saturday. We always talk about the Friday games when we give our lines. So I think it's an interesting series, 2-game series. I think that I love UMass on the first game of this series. And I always say that I actually like the road team usually on the first game, but I like UMass at home. They've been dying to get that home game, their first home game in. They get the big crowd in there. You might put 7,000 into the Mullen Center for this game. That would be an electric atmosphere. I think that this one has a lot of potential to flow that way. But again, we're talking about the defending national champions. They're coming in with confidence. Talking to David Carl today, he said that that's what's building in his team. He feels like his team is becoming more confident every day, and his goaltender Magnus Krona becomes more confident every day. So a lot of question marks here, but I still kind of, if I had to favor a team here, this is a stay away game for me. I would not bet this game. But if I had to, if somebody said, you got to go and throw $100 down this game, I'd throw it on UMass.
Well, we're going to see what everybody picked in Friday's USCHO Edge column, where you show what all 8 national columnists for USCHO picked. My gut on this one, again, because I had to pick something in all of these, it led me to be leaning a little bit toward Denver. And I couldn't put anything on it except just what you described as some confidence. There seems to be, last year we saw Denver climb and climb and climb as the season went on, peaking right at the right time to win the national championship. It seems to me right now they're already about 75% of the way up the hill to start the season. So they're starting in a good place. But yeah, the funny thing about a game is one or two plays can turn things completely. It's definitely a game of momentum. If Denver can establish their game early and keep playing it, I think things lean to them. I think the odds makers kind of picked this one correctly. The over-under on this one is 6. Denver's been able to put up some goals early on, but I don't necessarily see the Pioneers putting up 5 goals on UMass. That's
maybe where the rub is. And I don't know where we're going to see the UMass defense, UMass goaltending come in. Their defense is really strong. I mean, they have, 2 of their best players are on defense. So let's just think about the fact that they have a great defensive core. Goaltending, we're going to see. There's always questions thinking about that. All that said, I think that the number of goals scored here might hedge on emotion. Because I think that you could see UMass score 1, turn the building electric, and they can score 3, something they do a lot at home. But then again, you get where both teams struggle to score a goal, and next thing you know, we're in a 1-0 game, late in the third period, and the thought of getting to 7, over under 6. So 6 is a push, 5's an under, 7's an over. This is not a 5.5. So I think that the thought of getting to 7 here could be a little difficult. Again, this is a stay away game for me entirely, over under included. But if I had to bet the over under, I'd go the under.
One last question. You mentioned physicality on both teams. Denver sees it all the time in the NCHC. It's a very physical league, top to bottom. I don't think there's anybody that you could say even shies away from it. UMass doesn't always see that in Hockey East. Is that a little bit of an advantage for Denver going into this?
Oh, no, I don't believe so. I mean, physical play is kind of the brand that we see with UMass. So I don't think that will have a lot to do with it. These 2 teams will be ready to play some pretty tough hockey. I don't worry about that at all.
The next game we've got on the lineup, Pitt's number 9, Boston University at number 6, Michigan. This is the most lopsided game of our 5 that we're going to talk about, which surprises me, although I have to agree that Michigan is the favorite playing at home.
Well, why do we favor Boston University at all? It would only be because they have a highly touted freshman class, and they do. And we saw the first week of the season, they played Bentley, and their freshmen all led them in scoring. So there's a reason to have hope for Boston University. But now you've got to go on the road. You've got to play Michigan, a team that they're seasoned. They've lost a lot from last year, but sometimes, and I think you and I have talked about this off the air, Ed, sometimes when you lose a little bit from a really talented class, it just opens up opportunities for other players that were maybe role players to take over bigger roles. And when you think of the talent that Michigan had and has, so let's think of what they lost. They're going to have to replace that with guys that might have been last year 3rd and 4th liners. Nobody's fighting for positions anymore. No, you don't have a guy that's a 1st-round draft pick trying to get off of the 3rd line and try to move up. You don't have that. You have guys that are not just happy to be there, but they're really good players that now are going to get to prove their worth. So I do believe that Michigan might actually be a better team than they were a year ago without the same talent. All that said, BU, plenty of talent there. Freshman class, I like a lot of what they bring. Experienced goaltender in Drew Comesso. If there was one huge upset that I would pick this week of all the 5 that we're going to preview, I'd be okay with taking BU in this game. On the road, even on the road, at Michigan, Friday night, hey, take the road dog, huge road dog. 100 to win 200. I'd take $100 and take 300 out of the betting window if they win. That is a really good number. The over-under of 6 on this game, I feel this game's probably going to go under. This could be a 2-1 game easily in my mind.
The other thing that I think may be a piece of how we look at this one is which first-year head coach is going to have more of an impact on a change in his team. And you can make an argument for both of them. Jay Pandolfo trying to get BU back up to where they should be after some things that weren't all his predecessor's fault, bad scheduling problems because of COVID and things like that. Meanwhile, depending on how you sift and sort out all the various information that came with replacing Mel Pearson with Brandon Naurato, there's got to be some kind of an intangible there. And as I watched Michigan last year, I always felt like there was something missing or something not quite clicking. It's hard to say that a team with so much talent underperformed at times, but I think they did, and maybe there might be a little impact there. I think that this is a Michigan team that is going to possibly be a better team, even maybe with not the same number of lofty talents. I agree with you on that.
We might be saying the same thing there. I feel like the players that are left, the players that are in the locker room today, have some sort of a motivation. And maybe it's not the same type of motivation that the team last year had. Everybody still wants to win a national championship, right? But at the same time, the motivation changes. And I think that is what we're going to see, is maybe that you're going to get a little bit more oomph out of these players. And I'd love to see that. I mean, this is a Michigan team that we know had a lot of talent last year, should have probably won a national championship when you actually just put first round draft picks against everybody else. I think right now you are going to see the motivation of players that maybe were overlooked a little bit last year, or the ones that didn't get moved up to the NHL, first round draft picks. There's still a couple left that aren't in the NHL right now. These guys will have the drive, I think, to compete. So it's an interesting season for Michigan. We'll see where they go. I think they've looked good so far. New coach, Brandon Naurato. We'll see what happens there. But I think this is the most intriguing of the 5 matchups we have all week.
Oh, we've got 2 more East-West matchups plus an all-Minnesota game to talk about. USCHO Edge is sponsored by DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union. Visit dcu.org.
Know how people say life happens? Well, for me, life was happening, and I needed a new truck. I didn't have time to shop around for a good loan, so I got one from the dealer, higher interest and all. Month after month, those payments were squeezing me. So I went to DCU. They refinanced my loan and helped lower my rate, which lowered my payments. These days, I have more money in my pocket for whatever life throws at me. What will DCU mean to you? Insured by NCUA. Membership required. Visit dcu.org.
Welcome back to USCHO Edge. I'm Ed Trefzger, across the table from Jim Connelly. Jim, number 11, Ohio State visits number 17, Connecticut. This one is just a toss-up.
True pickup. We have not seen one of these. And I'll tell you, I've been following this now for 2 years. I looked at all the lines that DraftKings puts out every Friday morning, Thursday night, whatever it may be. I have not seen one where it is dead even. These teams, Ohio State, Connecticut, they're both minus 115, which, yes, the house is taking basically an extra $5 off of you if compared to what Vegas would do. That would be minus 110 usually in Vegas for both teams. But this is a pick 'em. They're saying we don't have a favorite. Absolutely no favorite. We're not even leaning one way or another. Pick them each way. We're going to make our money. I don't know how to pick this game. Ohio State, they've started out strong. Connecticut, they've started out strong as well. I don't know that either team has faced the biggest test they will this season. So both of these teams, this is their first huge battle that they're going to go into. The fact that it's in Hartford, the fact that these 2 games will be played at the home rink for UConn, the XL Center in downtown Hartford, and I think that they're going to have pretty good crowds. You know, that building can hold up to probably 10,000 for a college game. It could be a great atmosphere in there for UConn. I hope that they draw well. I really do. I haven't talked to anybody down there, but I hope that they draw well. These games have a great potential. I think that the over-under at 5.5 is perfectly set. These are not going to be high-scoring games. You know, could there be a 4-2 in there? Could there be a 3-2 and you get an empty netter to set it over? Absolutely, but I don't expect to see, you know, a 7-5 in this series. I think this is competitive hockey. Flip your coin, pick your favorite. I don't have one yet. I'll make my pick tomorrow morning, or I'll make my pick on Friday. I know this is going to air on Friday, and we're taping on Thursday, but I'll pick on Friday morning. And I don't even know which way I'm going to go with this, because this is a really competitive 2-game series.
I thought quite a bit about this one. First of all, I've liked Steve Rollick's teams. I think he gets a lot out of the talent he has. And when you look at the comeback that they had against Wisconsin, down 3-0 halfway through the game on Saturday and coming back to win 4-3, that says a lot. I listened to his press conference this week. I really like this Ohio State team, and I think they are going to battle for the very top in the Big Ten. They might even finish second overall. Who knows? They're going to be up there. I think they've been underranked by the coaches.
Every year, by the way. Is perennially.
Yeah, every year.
The Ohio State team is by far underranked in that league every year.
Meanwhile, Connecticut slowly but surely makes a step forward just about every season. Mike Cavanaugh had them on the brink of the NCAA tournament last year. I think maybe #IceBus could even slip in there this year, depending on how they go. I think there's also maybe this small intangible in there, considering that he pulled his name out. Now, whether he was told he wasn't going to be considered or pulled his name out, he took himself out of the consideration for the Boston College position, one that we have to assume had been something at least earlier in his career he really coveted. That little bit of a step saying, no, I'm committed here at UConn, that says a little bit. That is an intangible that can rub off on a team and say, hey, coach is with us. He's staying with us. So what I look in this, and I would not be surprised to see a split. I kind of feel like home ice advantage is the one slight edge for UConn. And you'll see when you look at it that was my pick, UConn, to take that first game.
What you talk about Mike Cavanaugh's commitment to school, the school is also reciprocal, because I do believe the school has committed to Mike Cavanaugh, and that's really important, right? I think that when you look at the facility they played in, they've been at the XL Center since Mike Cavanaugh's gotten there, since they got to Hockey East. They used to play at Freitas Ice Forum, I think it was called, on campus. Not a fitting rink for a Division I team, but in their Atlantic days, it made do. The women still play there, but everything is going to shift. There's a new building coming. It'll be open somewhere around December, January this year. We're still not clear about how many games the men's team will play there, because I think it's going to seat somewhere between 2,500 and 3,500 fans. I think it'll be a perfect facility for any team in the country, regardless of league. I know Hockey East has in the past asked for 4,000 seats, but listen, when you have a great venue with great facilities, that's what a coach dreams of. That's a recruiting tool. And I think that that's what Mike Cavanaugh has wanted for a long time. He has it now. And I think that the ability to attract players, telling them that they will play, that they will work out, they will practice in that facility, goes a long way. And I think that will continue to help attract some recruits. Listen, I mean, there's great buildings in hockey, there's great buildings in the country. But if you think of the deficiency that UConn had, it was the building. UConn has a brand still. Basketball has built the brand. Football did a little bit for them. Soccer has done a little bit. But when you think of the brand, it's been built by basketball globally. And this is, you attract European players because they know what UConn is for basketball. And now you put the facility behind it. I think that is what Mike Cavanaugh has been waiting for. So, to see him stay at UConn and not want to go to Boston College doesn't surprise me 1 ounce. I think he has made the right move there, and he'll continue to take great steps forward.
As we've been going through this, I keep thinking about the different coaches and boy, I like this coach. Boy, I like that coach. There are a lot of great coaches in Division I hockey. It's pretty amazing when you think about the caliber.
When I look at the entire top to bottom of the 10 schools we have this week, David Carl, Greg Carvel, Jay Pandolfo, Brandon Murado, Steve Rollick, Mike Cavanaugh, Rand Pecknold, Brad Berry,
Scott Sandlin, and Mike Hastings we'll get to. But yeah, a Quinnipiac game at North Dakota, number 8 Quinnipiac, number 3 North Dakota. Part of the fun of that is our friend and colleague at the Grand Forks Herald, Brad Schlossman, picked Quinnipiac to be the number 1 team in the preseason national champion. And then they come in and play the team he covers North Dakota. This is an interesting one to me. Quinnipiac, the underdog, but boy, I think, and you're the expert, but I think if you're going to pick one underdog this weekend, that might be the one to pick on Friday night.
I like BU a lot, but I also like Quinnipiac here. Yanni Peretz has proved himself just phenomenal in goal. And, they had that bump last Sunday against Long Island, and I'm not sure what that does to your psyche as you head on the road to play North Dakota. Whether you come off a great road win against Boston College, you say, hey, we're good, we're great, mentally in the right place. But then you have that game where you have to kind of find a way to earn a tie against LIU. So I don't know what that does to you, but I think that there's motivation going to North Dakota. I think that Rand Pecknold's team has always gotten up to play huge underdog, play the role of huge underdog on the road. And I think this is a pretty huge underdog, plus 145 North Dakota, minus 180 home favorite, over under 5 on this game. I actually have to look at that over under of 5. And I know you have Yanni Peretz in net. And that's a guy that doesn't give up 2 goals that often. But I could honestly see this being a 4-3 game. Both these teams have the offenses to score. And then you look at the fact that North Dakota at home in recent years has scored a lot of goals, regardless of the goaltender that's in net. So I actually like the over in this game if you have the chance to bet it. 5's a nice push. If you have to take it, you get your money back. But Quinnipiac plus 145. Yeah. If I had to throw that into a parlay, if I was doing a five team parlay on this, I'd be having BU and Quinnipiac and the other 3 favorites probably thrown in together. That, I think that this is an interesting line. And Quinnipiac should be able to pull off this upset. If they, play their game, they get great goaltending.
The thing that would lean me towards the underdog in this one is indeed Yanni Peretz. He takes Quinnipiac from very good to elite in Division I college hockey. And he's the kind of goaltender that might be worth by himself 2 or 3 wins during the course of a season. And maybe one of them where you're motivated as the visiting school against what is going to be an absurdly great crowd is always at Ralph Engelstad Arena. So to me, he's maybe the difference in the whole thing that I look at. But boy, I like both teams very much. And that's going to be some terrific hockey to watch.
Yeah, I think that is, the atmosphere of this series. And this will be one that, you always worry about non-league games. Well, I don't in North Dakota because they just sell out almost every game that's ever played at REA. But I also think of the people know that Schlossman, who is a god out there. I mean, people really read his column every week like it is religion. And he picks one team, not in their conference, not in the NCHC. It's been a long time if you're going to pick against North Dakota that you're picking a team out of the NCHC. He picks Quinnipiac. Now they're in town. What a weekend for hockey in North Dakota.
The last one on our list. Oh man, I would love to be at this game. Number 4, Minnesota Duluth at number 5, Minnesota State.
And the last time for a Sandelin to face Sandelin. Brian Sandelin getting to face his dad, Scott Sandelin, in a 2-game weekend series. It'll be pretty special. Being in Mankato on Friday, Mankato a 135 favorite, minus 135 favorite, Duluth a plus 105. That's almost calling it a pick 'em too. It's kind of the odds maker saying that this is pretty even. Give it to the home team. Just give the slight advantage to the home team. Over under 5 on this one. That's a low over under. I think they still think that Minnesota State has Dryden McKay in net. Sometimes I think these odds makers forget that goaltenders change. So I don't know exactly, if that is the right over under. It seems a little low to me. But this is a pick 'em to me. And I don't know, I thought that the atmosphere last Saturday night in Mankato when they hosted the Gophers was fantastic. And I think that if you can set that same atmosphere, play the same type of game, feed off the crowd, man, did they feed off the crowd last Saturday. I think that would be fantastic to be able to do that again Friday night. Duluth, a great opponent, a special opponent to these in-state rivalries. I love how Minnesota, the state of Minnesota and their teams that are no longer in the same conference, that they have found a way to still battle one another. and they're spread out over 3 conferences, but these early season matchups, they're really what every college hockey fan should desire.
Yeah, and I got to lean toward Minnesota State because I think it'll be another split weekend with a home team winning each night. It's everybody's advantage in Minnesota. Also, everybody in conferences outside of the CCHA out that way should want to get Minnesota State on their schedule because that's going to help their pairwise. That may move them a notch or two, maybe even be the difference of getting in. So you really want to get somebody like that on your schedule. I like both teams. I haven't seen enough of them this year to really have a strong hunch, but yeah, with something that close, I got to lean home team, both of them. And yeah, the over under, you think about Friday, it was a 4-1 Minnesota win, a 3-2 Minnesota State win at Minnesota or at home against Minnesota the next night. 5 seems right on the number.
5 has become the magic number for Minnesota State games. So see why the bookmaker goes exactly there.
Yeah, same with Duluth last weekend, 3-2 and 4-1 with Arizona State. So yeah, flip a coin on that one. Maybe somebody gets an empty netter late to make it 4-2 or something like that. But yeah, these are tough ones. Last week seemed a little straighter on. Last week I felt pretty good about going 4-1, and all of us lost when we picked UMass Lowell. Every single prognosticator picked the Riverhawks. So 4-1, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I'll give you the number. If you bet $100 in a 5-team parlay of our 5 games last week, you got them all right. You made $1,655.24. That is, believe it or not, if it probably seems like a lot of money, 16.5 to 1 or 15.5 to 1. That probably feels good. It's actually low. That's actually pretty low, and it's because the one big upset was Miami at plus 120. So this week, when you throw in, we've kind of both leaned toward Boston University at plus 200. We both leaned toward Quinnipiac at plus 145. If those games were to hit and you figure out the rest of them, you're now talking closer to like $4,000 on a $100 bet. So if you're in a gambling state, you can make those parlay bets. Those are some fun ones to make. Don't have to make them 100. You can make them 10. Take 1/10 of that. I wouldn't mind $400 on the $10 bet, but those are the types of bets that are out there for you if you're thinking about making a wager this weekend.
And if you're not betting and you're just watching games, these are 5 terrific games to cheer on for sure. I think probably as the season goes on, we'll see some wider spreads on these because up front, it seems like these top teams are getting matchups against other top teams.
Yeah, we saw it last year. As we got toward the end of the season, we were in the plus and minus 400 range on some of these games. And that's not strange to see as you get into the later season where we know that the favorite is a heavy, heavy favorite, especially in conference play. But I get it. The odds makers have to be kind of cautious this time of year. This is not one of the best known sports either. This is not college football. This is not basketball. College hockey, you have more of an edge if you can figure out what teams should win. Pick them right. You'll make more money than you will in football and basketball.
One last question. This is sort of an inside betting type question. We saw some of the money lines move from the beginning of the week. Is that from information? Is that from what kind of bets people are putting down?
It's usually about bets. It's usually you would think that it's sharp. So if this is a football game, this is going to be derived from sharp bettors in Vegas. As soon as they see the line come out, they're going to start making bets. I'm not sure that we see that heavy of sharp betting on college hockey, but I'm not surprised now that the lines are becoming more readily available in both the casinos in Vegas and now on the online sports books. I think that we are seeing a little bit more of the early money moves one way and the lines have to go with them. So I do think that we are starting to see that, but I think we're also getting more information. I think that online sports books, I think the lines on these came out, today's Thursday, the lines came out on Tuesday. Monday, there was nothing except for the Thursday games. Tuesday, they started getting the Friday lines out. And by Wednesday, those lines changed. So I think it's both the bettors that are actually making the bets and the sports books that say, hey, we just threw these out kind of haphazardly yesterday. Let's really examine them and let's talk to people. Let's start doing our homework. I think that both of those play into why the lines move.
I have a few other questions, but I'll save them for future episodes. USCHO Edge has been sponsored by DCU Digital Federal Credit Union. Visit dcu.org. Find our podcast at uscho.com/podcasts or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We're available on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Stitcher, Spreaker, and Spotify. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and this has been USCHO Edge.